Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're here with a friend of the show, special guest Michael Libby. Mike, who is helping to run the Desmond Adams campaign for the 3rd Congressional District, challenging David Young, and we wanted to check in with him to see what is going on with our good buddy Desmond Adams. Any new developments, any news, I guess, from the campaign trail at all. And so, Mike, why don't you take it away? Fill us in on what's been happening since the last time you were here.
Thanks. We have had an amazing resurgence in the campaign. Over the past 6 years, we've garnered the support of literally dozens of not only Democrats but also Republicans who see the opportunity to take back the 3rd District for the people of Iowa. We spent today, as a matter of fact, with members of the Latino community, LULAC, at the Iowa State House, and listening to their concerns relative to what goes on with immigration reform, what happens with jobs, what happens with, even in the state of Iowa, with the driver's license and voting rights. And so it's an exciting time. But case at the bottom reality of all of these things is that it's finally broken through to people that if the Democrats in Iowa wish to take back the 3rd District, there's only one choice, and it's all numerical. It is not about issues. It is all about the numbers. And if we take a look at the numbers, we can readily see that the strategy that President Obama played in 2008 was to excite the progressive vote, was to excite the youth vote, the brown and the black vote. And that's exactly what Desmond Adams has been able to do over the past 6 to 8 weeks, is to galvanize that support across a broad district. 16 counties in the 3rd District here in Iowa. 70% of that vote is out of Polk County, 70%. And if you take a look at the voting numbers, it's all very simple. Why had we lost in 2014 and 2012 and barely hung on in 2008? And that's because the progressives, the youth vote, the African-American vote, and the Latino vote were not energized to come out. Desmond Adams has all 4 of those segments that he's working on and getting the support. His story from going from a high school dropout to a JD degree at Drake University is inspiring to the youth. They can believe in something. If this guy can do it, I can do it. Progressives understand his commitment to not only things like climate change, but also a livable wage, those types of things that most of the Democrats out there really do support. And the Latinos, not only the Dreamers, but LULAC, those individuals who are looking for an opportunity to stay in this country and continue to offer a better livelihood for themselves and their family, as well as build on the economics of this state and this nation. They're looking at Desmond Adams as a real entity to make their case. And then finally, we talk about the African-American group, where the Black Ministerial Alliance here in Des Moines and elsewhere have taken on a real progressive role to helping Desmond Adams move forward with his campaign. And so these types of things, no matter, it doesn't talk about the money. We've had conversations with the Congressional Black Caucus, the DCCC. They are all of a sudden seeing that, we've got real momentum in this district, particularly in Polk County and in Dallas County and Warren County and in Pottawatomie County, where people are coming on board and saying, look, this is a new voice, a fresh voice, not a politician necessarily, but somebody that really wants to make a change. And can you imagine, just think of this for a moment, in a state as white as Iowa, let's call it as it is, as white as Iowa, elects an African-American congressman, that is ground-shattering for the state of Iowa and will really pay dividends, I believe, in the long run for this state.
What I think about Desmond, when I remember when he came in, the thing that he said that really resonated with me the strongest, and what I think is going to have broad appeal across not just individual demographics, but even political demographics, is his message of let's not run government as a business to government. Let's make it so that government, which main role is to serve the people, i.e. spending money for services. Let's bring some folks in who know how to spend money more wisely, not just make money for ourselves. I think that's what really caught me.
We just talked about that in the last segment.
Yes,
one of Desmond's big, and I remember him saying this so many times. I've known him for years now. And one of the things he continues to say is paying taxes is patriotic. Mm-hmm. What you do with those taxes is good stewardship. And that's exactly where he comes from. How do we better spend? How do we better pay attention to those monies that we do get that are energized from the populace?
See, I think that Democrats should be much more patriotic since they want to pay much more tax. I'm all for that. Now, I do have a serious question. Now, this is a presidential election year,
yes.
And what we've seen is that a lot more people show up and vote during these election years, particularly Democrats. And so I think that it's entirely possible that Desmond Adams could unseat David Young. He does have the backing of Chuck Grassley. That's a big voice. He does have the backing of the establishment. The problem I see is if he wins, what's going to happen 2 years from now when Republicans have a tendency to show up much more than the Democrats? What's going to be your strategy to keep those rural counties, voting for Desmond Adams?
Well, I think that the real answer to that is not only the rural counties, but the urban counties. This is not a rural-urban divide. This is an individual who has real compassion for people, an individual who goes out of his way to listen and understand the pains and suffering of people sometimes on the fringes, but oftentimes in the mainstream. And I think his compassion and his empathy will drive him forward, not only in 2016, but also in 2018. And gosh only knows what happens in 2020.
Yeah. So in other words, he'll kind of get a Leonard Boswell kind of effect.
Well, Leonard Boswell is a good friend of the campaign.
Yeah.
And we revere Leonard and Dottie. They are wonderful people, and they have been so helpful to Desmond over the years. And we pray on a daily basis. And I must say this to you, because both Leonard and Dottie have had some health issues recently. And so we're always constantly thinking and hoping for their full and complete recovery. And Leonard Boswell was that kind of a guy who was able to galvanize support out in the rural parts of Iowa.
Yeah, and he could get a lot of moderate and conservative Republicans to vote for him.
And imagine now, let's imagine for just a moment.
Give me a second. We're going to be back after this commercial break. We're going to continue to talk to Michael about what's going on. We're going to be continuing to talk about Desmond Adams and his campaign. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We couldn't do this without you. We'll be back right after this.